Lions surrounded a baby elephant, and who would come to save him was unexpected by no one. Tension filled the thick air as through my camera lens I watched. Pounding against my rib cage was my heart. In the African savannah as a wildlife photographer for 20 years had not prepared me for the unfolding scene before my eyes. A routine morning drive through Kenya's Masai Mara National Reserve it was supposed to be. Documenting the endless cycle of life and death that defines this ancient ecosystem on another day. A drama so rare I found myself witnessing instead, trembling my hands as my telephoto lens I adjusted, afraid a single moment I might miss. Michael Thornton is my name, and in August 2023 what I captured that day would challenge all I thought about animal behavior I knew. Like any other during the dry season the day had begun. Before dawn I set out with my guide Japhet, a local Maasai man whose reserve knowledge far exceeded any textbook teaching. The great wildebeest migration we were hoping to photograph. About lion activity near the Mara River a radio call Japhet had received and suggested we investigate. Near the crossing lions have been hunting, as our jeep bounced along the dusty track he explained. Also there many elephants are. Scarce water is becoming. When we arrived what we found wasn't the expected scene of wildebeests nervously approaching the river crossing. From the riverbank about 50 yards instead, trembling stood a small elephant calf, no more than a few months old, beside what appeared to be its mother's body. No tusks the dead elephant had, even from a distance I could see. Despite intensified ranger patrols poachers had been active in the region. Last night the mother was killed, with sadness replacing his usual stoic expression Japhet whispered. Her side the baby hasn't left. The calf nudged its mother's lifeless form with its trunk as we watched, grief and confusion in a heartbreaking display. Beside me Japhet tensed. That's when. He said pointing to our right, lions. The calf they've been watching. I spotted them through my lens. 6 lions and a pride, 2 adult males with magnificent dark manes included. Slowly approaching they were, as cover using the tall grass, on the vulnerable elephant calf fixed their eyes. Taking its course nature was, myself I told. The wild's harsh reality this was, without intervention countless times I documented a reality. To the approaching predators the elephant calf seemed oblivious, trying to rouse its mother still focused. Only away about 30 yards when the lions were did the baby elephant sense danger finally. Wide its tiny ears spread and a distressed trumpet it let out that across the savannah echoed. For help he is calling, quietly Japhet said. Too far away the elephant herd is. Out my lens I zoomed to scan the horizon. Visible a small herd of elephants was in the distance indeed, perhaps half a mile away, but away from the river they were moving, not toward it, reaching them the calf's cries weren't. Closing in the lions began to circle, apex predators practiced precision with. Flanking from the left 2 lionesses were, more directly the males approached while positioning themselves to cut off any escape route toward the river 2 younger lions, probably subadults. A textbook hunting formation it was. What its instincts dictated the baby elephant did, realizing it was surrounded, for protection against its mother's body it backed up, desperately trumpeting still, but from those lifeless flanks no protection there would be. In its raw display of nature's unforgiving ways mesmerizing yet heartbreaking the scene was. Suggested Japhet, tight his voice, we should move. For elephants a deep respect he had like many Maasai and difficult found it to watch a calf die, the way of the wild even understanding it was. I replied, a few more minutes just, overriding my emotional response my photographer's instinct. Lions don't often target elephants a rare hunting sequence this was, unless desperate or presented with an unusually vulnerable victim even calves. For the final attack run her muscles tensing the lead lioness crouched. On the shutter button poised my finger, my breath I held. One more plaintive call the calf made, before higher pitched and more urgent than. Happened then something completely unexpected. In 20 years of wildlife photography never witnessed I had something that. A thunderous splash from the direction of the river came, a deep rumbling bellow followed that the very air seemed to shake. Toward the sound through my viewfinder I swung and in disbelief froze. From the river emerging, cascading from his massive frame water was a fully grown male hippopotamus. 3 tons of muscle and aggression easily charging toward the standoff between the lions and the calf directly. Japhet breathed beside me, impossible. Don't hippos. Because defying conventional wildlife behavior, what we were seeing, he didn't finish his sentence. Aggressive and notoriously territorial hippos are, near water they typically remain and certainly don't interfere with predator-prey interactions that don't concern them. No interest in hunting or protecting other species herbivores they are. Yet charging directly at the lion pride this enormous bull hippo was, a speed that belied his bulk with, in threat display his mouth open. As we were by this unexpected intervention clearly as confused, the lions, regrouping about 20 yards from the calf, scattered momentarily. Between the baby elephant and the lions himself, the hippo position didn't stop until a living shield for the calf, now his massive body. His intentions leaving no doubt, another earth-shaking bellow he released. Said Japhet, filled with wonder his voice, in 30 years in Masai Mara never seen this I have. From lions protecting elephant calf hippo. Not in nature books this is. Entirely on documenting every second of this unprecedented behavior focused. I couldn't speak. Seemingly unwilling to surrender such vulnerable prey, the lead male lion, forward a tentative step took. Charging again, the hippo responded. This standoff between two of Africa's most formidable creatures we watched for several tense minutes. Pacing back and forth, the male lion, catching the golden morning light his mane, as if seeking consensus on whether this unusual meal was worth the risk, occasionally glancing at his pride. Fixed on the predators, his small eyes, the hippo remained steadfast, now potentially serving as salvation for a baby elephant, his massive jaws capable of snapping a crocodile in half. The rangers we must call, reaching for the radio, Japhet said. If they can reach the herd, the calf might be saved. This extraordinary scene photographing, I continued while Japhet made the call, defying conventional understanding of wildlife interactions behavior I was documenting, knowing. After finishing the radio call, announced Japhet, 20 minutes. With vehicle to try to keep lions away until they can find the herd and bring them here coming. The rangers are. In this standoff an eternity. 20 minutes was. Regaining their confidence, the lions I could see already. Wearing off the initial shock of the hippo's charge as primal demand, its hunger reasserted. Again coordinating, they began to try to circle behind the hippo, slinking through the grass. 2 lionesses, partially exposed the side where the calf was targeting, continued to astonish us. An awareness the hippo displayed, however, pivoted his massive body as the lionesses attempted to flank him, between the predators and the calf, always keeping himself protection deliberate. It was not random movement. Lowering my camera momentarily, I asked Japhet, how is this possible? Other species hippos don't protect. About their behavior, everything we know, it goes against. Never leaving the unfolding drama his eyes, Japhet shook his head. Mysteries nature always has, Michael. In the baby's cries, maybe it hears something that we cannot understand. Maybe its own calf this hippo lost. As a wildlife photographer, anthropomorphizing animal behavior I'd learned to avoid. On evolutionary programming shaped over millions of years on instinct, creatures act. As humans understand it, empathy or moral choices they don't make or experience. Defend a helpless baby elephant from an entirely different species, watching this enormous hippo, and yet, remarkably like compassion, something that looked it was difficult not to see. Becoming increasingly bold in their approaches, the lions with the standoff continued. But growing tired he was, I could see, with short threatening charges to each advance the hippo responded. When away from water for too long, hippos can overheat despite their aquatic adaptations. In the strengthening sun, this one had been out for nearly 30 minutes now, visible becoming on his back dark patches of dried skin. Observed Japhet, much longer he cannot stay. To water soon he will need to return. A distressed sound the hippo released, as if confirming Japhet's assessment, from his earlier threatening bellows. Different. Beginning to suffer in the heat, perhaps uncomfortable he was. Between the lions and the calf positioned, yet he remained. Reached as the distant sound of an approaching vehicle just when it seemed the hippo might be forced to abandon his protection. Arriving, the reserve rangers were, across the savannah, bouncing their green truck toward our position. More hesitant in their advances immediately became the lions, of human presence wary. Suddenly, said Japhet, to the northeast pointing. coming the herd is. Felt a surge of hope, and in that direction my camera eye swung. Rapidly approaching a group of 11 elephants was a large female with a distinctively notched ear led by. With remarkable speed, ground covering their powerful legs, as if testing the air, trunks raised, they moved with purpose. Explained Japhet, the calf they heard. Encouraging them in this direction alongside drove and found them the rangers. Now caught between approaching humans and a group of angry adult elephants, the lions, to retreat began. Too unfavorable these odds were even for apex predators. They'd almost claimed the calf, it with reluctant backward glances, into the tall grass melted the pride and from view disappeared. Even more remarkable than the hippo's initial intervention, perhaps what happened next was. In apparent distress, rumbling and trumpeting, the elephant herd approached. Back to the safety of the river, immediately flee the hippo did not, as one might expect. Beside the calf he remained until away less than 50 yards the lead female elephant was instead. His awkward lumbering gait began and turned did he only then back toward the water. As she neared the hippo, her approach slowed. The female elephant, the matriarch of the herd, typically show toward potential threats near their young. The aggression elephants, rather than displaying, in what almost appeared to be a gesture of acknowledgement toward the departing hippo, her trunk she raised. Whispered Japhet, completely abandoned in the face of this extraordinary interaction, his usual professional reserve. Such a thing never seen I have. Briefly paused the hippo, toward the elephant matriarch, turning his massive head before his journey back to the river continuing. Toward them running began the baby elephant, seeing the approaching herd, like relief unmistakably sounding trumpeting on unsteady legs. Beside our jeep pulled up the ranger's vehicle. Out leaned a uniformed officer. Asked he, his expression a mixture of disbelief and excitement, "All of this you witnessed?" Confirmed I, holding up my camera. "Everything. The hippo came out of the river from the moment," said he. "This properly we must document. In the reserve never been recorded such behavior has." The elephant herd surrounded the calf as we spoke, in what appeared to be a collective examination and reassurance, with their trunks touching it. Over the body of the fallen mother stood the matriarch, one final time the tuskless face gently caressing her trunk. Profoundly moving was witnessing such evident grief even after years in the wild. To ensure the herd adopted it fully, the calf they would monitor, explained the rangers. Given the immediate protective response, optimistic they were though. Particularly when there's a blood relationship. Orphaned calves known to care for elephant herds are the dead elephant's mother. She might be, suspected the rangers, based on the matriarch's behavior, the calf's grandmother. Looking toward the river I asked, "But what about the hippo?" Marking his position, only occasional bubbles with beneath the surface disappeared. Our unlikely hero had where. A possible explanation offered one of the younger rangers, herself as Nuru introduced, who a woman. In this area, observed rangers, have a particular hippo bull for nearly 7 years. Of elephants drinking at his territory, unusually tolerant. He's without aggression near him, seeing elephant calves splashing, even some have reported. Continued Nuru, for king the Swahili word using we call him Fam. Easy to identify, which makes him a small piece of his right ear he's also missing. On the hippo's ear, zooming in the images on my camera's display, reviewing I immediately began. In several frames clearly visible a distinctive V-shaped notch in his right ear. There it was. Showing the rangers the images. Confirmed I, that's him. This way he would behave. Why, any theories do you have why a baby elephant protect to risk himself? Shook his head the senior ranger himself, as Daniel Kiprop, who introduced. In ways we cannot fully explain with our current understanding, sometimes animals behave. Water holes and river habitats share. Elephants and hippos do, of each other awareness with evolved, so they have but a cross-species active protection. Extraordinary this is. From a respectful distance observing the elephant herd, the rest of the morning we spent under their protective circle, fully incorporated. The calf had been with staying close to it at all times, 2 females in particular. His usual spot in the river returned to Hadfam. The hippo meanwhile, with just his eyes, ears and nostrils breaking the surface, submerged, back to his normal behavioral patterns seemingly. For our research archives copies of your photographs we would like, requested Ranger Kiprop, with conservation biologists studying interspecies interactions, permission to share them. For understanding complex animal behaviors, an important observation this could be. knowing that a deeper understanding of wildlife cognition and behavior these images might contribute to readily agreed I. No greater purpose for my work I could ask as a photographer who had dedicated his career to documenting the natural world. Resting where Mfalm was to the river's edge closer our vehicle position if we could asked I before leaving the area. Drove us to a spot about 30 yards from the water Japhet with the ranger's approval. More clearly see the hippo I could from this vantage point, mostly submerged as massive form, that had driven away 6 hungry lions, the powerful presence somehow still emanating yet. Said quietly beside me, Japhet, the Maasai have stories, when animals could speak to one another about the ancient days, not so fixed when the boundaries between species were. For children just stories these most consider, I wonder sometimes on days like today. But to begin a formal study of Mfalm and the elephant herd arrived Dr. Leon Nandungu, a renowned wildlife behaviorist from the University of Nairobi. My final day in the Masai Mara coincided with a significant development. Circulated among conservation scientists, my photographs had, in this unprecedented case of interspecies protection, considerable interest creating. Told me Dr. Nandungu, as from the riverbank we observed Mfalm, what you've documented challenges our understanding of hippo behavior. With little positive interaction with other species, highly territorial and aggressive hippos we've always categorized as more complex than we've recognized their cognitive and emotional lives. Maybe this suggests using non-invasive methods, a long-term observation protocol to study both Mfalm and the elephant herd, particularly the interactions between the hippo and the orphaned calf she planned to establish. An opportunity one eagerly accepted. She invited me to return and document the ongoing study. Preparing for the journey back to Nairobi on that final morning, my equipment I packed, with a thoughtful expression approached Japhet. He said, in Maasai tradition we believe that animals carry spirits who watch over the land and its creatures, sometimes the spirits of ancestors. Needed protection. The baby elephant recognized one that perhaps Mfalm carries such a spirit. Appreciating both the poetry and wisdom in Japhet's perspective, I smiled. In trauma response, adaptive behavior, or even coincidence explanations Western science might search for. Beneath the vast African sky in daily drama play out life and death, where in the ancient landscape of the Masai Mara standing there, no less valid seemed Japhet's explanation. In National Geographic and several scientific journals published since then have my photographs of that extraordinary morning. Research, debate, and a renewed appreciation for the complexity of wildlife behavior they've sparked. To continue documenting Mfalm and the elephant herd, since then twice to the Masai Mara returned I've. Under the protection of the herd continues to thrive the orphaned calf, now nicknamed Tumaini, meaning hope in Swahili. When the elephants come to drink at the river, occasionally still surfaces nearby Mfalm. With what looks remarkably like compassion, nature can still surprise us, a reminder his presence, that even in a world governed by the harsh laws of survival. Song.